Hello everybody and welcome, I am Boom, and today we're gonna go ahead and travel back to Hoenn because it's been a while since we've been there. Today, we're gonna see if I can beat the game Pokemon Emerald with a single Grumpig. Grumpig was a challenge that was suggested to me, and definitely want to thank you for that challenge. We're gonna go ahead and try to do it justice today. Grumpig is a somewhat bulky psychic typing with a pretty poor physical attack, which isn't too surprising as that's how most psychics are. There's one issue though. Grumpig is a psychic type in a game filled to the brim with dark types. Thankfully, there's no dark type gym leaders, but there is a dark type Elite Four member. But we're getting way ahead of ourselves. Let's go ahead and take a look at the moveset. By level up, the first non-psychic type move we'll learn is Confuse Ray, or at least non-psychic type move that at least can potentially do damage. Thankfully, we learn a small set of non-psychic type moves, so we should be able to make it through the mid to late game with no problem, but the beginning is going to be rough. To take a look at the few rules that I do have in place, I can only use Grumpig in battle, but other Pokemon can be used for HM purposes. I can't use items in battle, but I can use them outside of battle, and lastly, I do allow rare candies. However, I try every battle multiple times before going down the level up route. If you want to see how truly stubborn I am when it comes to attempting a battle multiple times, check out last week's Magnemite video. Anyway, we grab our Grumpig, and this is going to give the rival Mudkip. Given the fact that Blaziken is a part fighting type and we learn a decent set of psychic moves, didn't make sense to give her that. But we take a look at our Grumpig and it has own tempo, which means it can't be confused, which will be nice. And I can see this being used well against Agatha if I ever decide to do a Fire Red run with this. We have a demure nature, which means modest or shy, and I am totally joking. I'm sorry. I was on TikTok before writing this. Our actual nature is relaxed, which means increased defense, but actually does lower our speed. With our Pokemon in tow, we head to the north and fight May for the first time, and we open with Psybeam as we get hit with a soft tackle before knocking it out with a crit next turn. You gotta love these tanky evolved Pokemon early on in runs. I'm sure by the middle of the game, though, we're gonna face some losses. After that, it's time for us to be able to move on to the route ahead. However, we find ourselves face to face with our first big boss battle, a Poochyena. So, what we do is we stock up on potions and then begin draining our PP. We go through wild Pokemon fights, draining the splashes that we have, the useless moves that we have. Basically, we have to be at 0 PP for everything so we can go ahead and use Struggle. After that, we'll be able to go to fight the trainer and slowly move on. Now, unfortunately, Struggle does a small bit of HP recoil every time that we use it, so we have to make sure to potion up pretty frequently. Then, in the forest ahead, we end up having to do the same thing for the Aqua Trainer. Unfortunately, if we struggled the entire time, we wouldn't be able to afford the potions required to get us through the next step of the game. So between towns, we have to heal up, then deplete our PP again, and then go ahead and try the battle. The good news is, with this forest, we can find Silcoon or Cascoon to be able to do this losing PP against wild Pokemon, but also not taking damage since all they end up doing is harden. Either way, while we're spending time in the forest, if you like this kind of content, make sure to like the video because that'll boost the chances that others will see this video, and then of course, subscribe to the channel. We have a fun community, and we have a fun run planned when we get to 1,000 subscribers, with what I think or hope is still a fan favorite. Anyway, we travel to Rustboro City, and then from there, it's time to fight Roxanne for the first time. Geodude number 1 is a critical hit, so it goes down a one-shot. The same can actually be said for the second one. And then last up is Nosepass, and we Psybeam it to almost half, as Rock 2 misses, and the berry heals it up, and then Roxanne heals it further. The next attack is another crit, and that allows us to take it out to win the battle, and the first badge. After that, it's a heal up, a trip back to the forest to drain some PP, and then we can get the Devon goods, and then there's an optional May fight. Given the fact that we want to learn some non-psychic moves as soon as possible, this is the perfect opportunity. Torkoal is first, and we use Psybeam, and that takes it to yellow as it only uses Curse before we can take it down next turn. Afterwards, it's out to Mudkip and we take it to red with one attack as Water Gun does a little before it goes down next turn. Next up, we can either go ahead and go deliver the letter to Steven, or we can head to Brawly. Given the fact that we have Psychic types and he has Fighting, well, I actually feel pretty alright about our chances. Brawly starts with Machop and we open up with Psybeam, taking it down in one shot. Next up is the Metatite, and that could be a small problem, but a single Psybeam is enough to take it to yellow as it only uses Bulk Up. Not a concern for us. Brawly does end up trying to go for Focus Punch, but we just knock it out from there. Last up is Makuhita, and I've seen this thing end Nuzlocke, or at least in certain Pokemon, but given our Psychic Pork powers, we take it down in one shot, winning us another simple badge. While we're venturing through the Dark Cave, I wanted to ask, what's your favorite generation of Pokemon? Because we've gotten a decent amount of subscribers since the last time I asked this, so I'm genuinely curious. Despite the mess that it is, for me it's Gen 2. It combines my love of the first gen Pokemon with the fact that you can travel between two continents. If you hear my dog barking, I apologize. Because how dare people be outside? Heart Gold definitely made this game better despite the multitude of problems. Also, because I'm thinking about it now, if you've never played this game before or don't remember, there are a lot of Aqua and Magma fights throughout the entirety of this game. If I covered every time we fought a Magma or Aqua member, or even just focused on the higher-ups, aside from the big fights, we would be here for hours. Right now, especially until we get better moves, it's just depleting PP followed by struggling our way to victory. Nothing really crazy to cover here, so I'm just going to save both of our time. But for now, it's time to fight May, and we'll see how things go for us. This is technically one of the harder May fights, but I think we'll be fine. Lombre is out first, and we use Psybeam, taking it to red as it uses Astonish for a little damage. After that, the next Psybeam is able to take it out, and we level up. Marsh Stomp is out, and we use Psybeam again, taking it to about half as Mudshot deals solid damage with a crit and lowers our speed. Psybeam on the next turn is then able to take it down. Last is Slugma, and where did her Torkoal go? I would rather have a Torkoal than a Slugma and or Macargo, personally. But because Slugma is terrible, it goes down easily, and that lets us move on. Coming up, we have probably the hardest gym leader and absolute Nuzlocke ender that is Watson. Watson is always going to be a problem without a ground type, so let's see how this attempt goes. We take Voltorb down to red, and it hits us with a critical hit Spark before Watson heals up. We do end up getting a high roll on the damage, taking it down next turn. Electrike is next, and we take it down in one shot as well. Magneton is out, and this one is always going to be a bit tanky, and we do about a fourth of damage as it uses Thunder Wave. Next move, it outspeeds and uses Sonic Boom as we get paralyzed, and it hits us again, and we stay paralyzed again. It takes us to 17 HP, and we take it to yellow and confuse it. The next turn, it smacks itself, and that lets us take it down. Manectric is out and outspeeds us, taking us to 2 HP as we hit it with Psybeam, and the berry takes it out of healing range, but that wasn't really a problem because it outspeeds us and takes us down. I mean, we only had 2 HP, I wasn't expecting much. Given how bulky Magneton is, I think it's going to take a little while to get past this point, so what we're going to go ahead and do is go to the route to the east, the west, and to the north as well. Rather than just rare candy leveling up, I'd rather just go ahead and fight the trainers. It's an easy way to get some levels, while also clearing out some of the trainers in game that we normally have to go through anyway. After we gain a couple levels, we can go ahead, head back to the gym, and then try again. This time around, we take Voltorb down in one shot, which spares us from damage right off the get-go. Electrike is next and also goes down to a single shot. Next up is Magneton, and right now we're not doing quite half as Thunder Wave connects. Shockwave connects, and we take it to low yellow. It does try Supersonic, but Own Tempo kicks in, so we can take it out next turn. Manectric is next and uses Howl for some reason, and we use Psybeam to take it to around half as the berry activates. It howls again, and we just continue with Psybeam as Watson heals up. Thankfully, we're just not getting paralyzed for whatever reason, so after the heal up, it only takes us 2 more turns to go ahead and take it down. After that, it's time to go ahead and start knocking out some of the Magma and Aqua storyline. That takes us up to the top of an active volcano, where we go ahead and square off against Maxie. Mighty Ina's first, and now that we have Shockwave, well, the sand attack isn't a problem, first of all. Second of all, we're able to take it down without too much of an issue. Zubat is out, and we take it down with a single Shockwave. Camerupt is out, and we swap to Psychic, nailing it with a crit that probably was not needed. We won't be covering too many of those, but a fight on top of an active volcano is too anime for me to even pass up. But the fire doesn't stop there, because we're going to go ahead to Flannery and see how we do against her. Flannery opens up with Numel, and we open with Psychic, taking it down in one shot. Slugma's next, and we can take it down in one shot as well. Camerupt is next, and we can take it to Red as it sets up Sunny Day. From there, Flannery does spend a turn or two healing, which is fine. Given the fact that she heals, this actually lets us waste a few turns of sunlight before we take down the Camerupt. Torkoal is next, and we use Psychic to take it to Yellow as it nails us with Overheat, doing a solid chunk of damage. But then, the sunlight fades, we still outspeed, so we can take it down to win the gym battle. After that puts us about halfway through the game, and I haven't spoken too much on Grumpig. Overall, Grumpig is performing far better than I would have initially thought. Grumpig is a good defensive mon, able to take or dish out attacks as long as you're focusing on its special attack. The special in this thing is honestly pretty good, and I think the back half of the game is going to be a challenge, but not overly difficult. Now, if you watch the shorts on my page, I think I put Grumpig into the C tier, but given how much I've enjoyed using it despite the beginning of the game being the Magic Struggle Bus, I think I would place it a little bit higher. Anyway, we've made the way back to our father, so let's go ahead and see how we do against Norman. Norman starts with Spinda, and we can use Psychic to take it down in one shot, and I realize I didn't heal up on the way, so I must have felt really confident. Apparently, though, that confidence is well placed because we also take down the Vigoroth in one shot. Slacking is next, and we know to attack on the Truant turn, so what we do is open with Confuse Ray, which pays off immediately as it smacks itself. Then, we Psychic on the Loaf turn, and basically swap between the non-attacking moves that we have and Psychic until the Beast ends up going down. Last up is Lanoon, and we open with Psychic to take it to Red as it only uses a soft headbutt. Norman heals up, and then we can take it down not too long after. After that, with access to Surf in our array, we can go ahead and start pushing into the next half of the game. We have a Weather Institute to take back, and basically a final May fight. There's still one in front of a department store, but she still hasn't fully evolved her starter, even in that one. So, honestly, if there's a way to make the rival a little bit better in this game, hit me up. I like Gen 3, but I feel like the rival's kind of a joke overall, if I'm being honest. Anyway, May time. Lombre is out first, and we get hit with a Fake Out and Flinch, obviously. Next turn, we tear it apart with Psychic. Slugma is next, and it's horrible, so it goes down in one shot as well. Marshtomp is next, and we Psychic it to Red, and Mudshot hits, but we still outspeed it, so it goes down next turn. Alright, no sense in dawdling, we'll just go ahead and go fight Winona as well. Winona opens up with Swablu, and we open with Shockwave, taking it out in one shot. Tropius is next, and we open with Psychic, taking it to Red as it begins to draw in Sunlight. Since Winona can't heal during that setup, we can go ahead and take it down. Pelipper is next and opens with Protect, but next turn we can connect and a Shockwave takes it down. Skarmory is out, and we continue with our Zippy Zaps, taking it to low yellow as Steel Wing does a small chunk of damage. Winona heals up, and we take it down 2 turns later. Altaria is next, and we open with Shockwave to see we don't do much. It begins dancing, so we swap over to Psychic to test damage that way. Then Altaria uses Earthquake, doing a good little bit, and we finish it off with another Psychic to go ahead and take the victory. Sure, that's fine. After this, we have a lot of Magma and Aqua storyline to start wrapping up. We have one more Maxi fight after we go through their hideout. Fun fact, the Molten Magma was actually pulled from the state of Ohio because it is far too hot here. The 7-day forecast shows that this weekend is finally going to go down to below 80-ish, so I'm trying not to complain too much, but y'all, I am not built for this heat. I am built for fall weather and Alright, Maxi. Midina's up first, and we open with Shockwave, and that takes it down to almost half. We do get Swaggered, which raises our attack, but due to own tempo, we do avoid the confusion. We take it to red, and then Maxie heals up a bit, but we take it to a sliver, and it takes itself out with the recoil. Crobat is next, and we get hit with Wing Attack before taking it down with a single Psychic. Next is Camerupt, and we take it to red as Earthquake takes us down to 49 HP, and even though Maxie heals up, we can still take it down next turn to win the battle. Alright, so, going forward for the remainder of this video, you may notice a bit of quality difference that will last for the rest of this video. So, what had happened was, as I got near the end of the game, we had our power flicker. The power flicker ended up making it so the video file that I had been recording on for about an hour and a half got corrupted. I had even posted on YouTube saying that this had happened. A wonderful friend and tech master in the Discord community sent me a website supported by the editing program I use, who will remain unnamed at this moment, and we were able to go ahead and repair the footage. Granted, I had to do some, we'll say, sketchy ways to get the video back because they wanted to charge money that I definitely didn't have to do so. So anyway, I will try to make this as painless as possible, and hopefully Tate and Liza will provide the same kindness to me in our battle. They open with Claydol and Xatu, and we open up with Shockwave on the Xatu, mostly because once it fully sets up, it's a bit of a pain, and we take it to yellow as it obliterates our poor, brave teammate. Ancient Power from Claydol connects, and naturally it gets the Omni Boost. If you can't tell, given the fact that it got the full boost, we basically start getting wailed on by this team, even with taking out the Xatu. I definitely try this more than a few times, but even without the Omni Boost, and with us changing strategy, we're still getting pretty walled by this team. So the first time through this entire run, we actually end up having to resort to rare candies and level up a little bit. Thankfully, it's not too much. We only have to level up to 60, and we try again, and this is about 6 attempts in, still. Psychic now takes Claydol to about half, and as they wail on us, we just continue on focusing taking down the Claydol, then knock out Xatu after the Claydol is down. We turn our focus to spamming attacks against the Soul Rock, and all too soon, it's just a one-on-one with the Lunatone. With both Rest and Snore, this battle takes forever because Snore barely tickles it, but we also run out of most of our other attacks due to Calm Mind. We have to just focus on trying to attack, and just when I think we're going to need to resort to struggle tactics at the end of this, we actually land a crit Shockwave with only, I think, 4 left to take it down and win a very narrow, very annoying battle. Admittedly, as a kid, the scene of Rayquaza coming out of the sky to scream at his children for waking him up from a nap was pretty great. Now, we've seen better. However, it's still not a bad scene overall. But after the world-saving nonsense is over, we can go ahead, challenge the final gym leader, and with Shockwave, I don't think it'll be too much of an issue. Juan first sends out Love Disc, and we open with Shockwave, taking it down in one shot. Next up is Crawdaunt, and since it has the Dark typing with it, I continue with Shockwave to take it down in one shot. Whiscash is out, and we do have a moment of terror, thinking it was a Dark type, then remember properly, and go to Psychic as it uses Amnesia. Juan does end up healing, but we continue with Psychic, taking it to red as it uses Earthquake, and then we can take it down. Celio is next, and we swap back over to Shockwave, knocking it out. Kingdra is out, and we Shockwave it to do about a quarter damage as it uses Double Team. We swap to Psychic, basically just trying to test damage, and knock it out. Neat. Not the way I expected the battle to end, but you won't hear me complaining in any way, shape, or form. So, we basically have the moves that we're going to need going into the Elite Four, so there isn't much of a reason to delay heading straight there, and given the power outage, I'm kind of thankful that I did, to be honest, because even a few minutes earlier would have probably ruined most of this video. But before we fight the Elite Four, we do have to face against Wally one final time. His team isn't super scary, given our typing and our level as well. Altaria is up first, and we open with Shockwave, not doing too much damage, honestly. Dragon Dance begins to get the setup, and we swap over to Psychic as it continues to dance the day away. We land a critical hit and take it down. After that, Delcatty is out, and someone pointed out, its neck thing looks like a neck pillow, and I can't really see it any other way now. So, Thankfully, we put it out of its misery, and it also goes down quick. Magneton is out, and we use Psychic to take it to yellow as it sets up Screech, and then we can take it out. Rosalia's out, and it goes down in one turn. Gardevoir goes below half, uses Future Sight, and then we can take it down a couple turns later. After not just one, but two different heal-ups, but overall, not a difficult battle. Now, before we go fight the Elite Four, we do actually make a pit stop and grab the one Chesto Berry that I actually know the location of before heading back. First up is Sydney, the Dark-type trainer, and with any luck, we won't need to use the Rest and Chesto combo right away, but that's because we replace Snore with Return due to the attack difference. After the Lunatone battle, I kind of realized that Snore is not going to be winning any battles, so we're basically just going to have to hope for a quick wake-up if we end up having to do multiple Rest strats. Sydney is first and sends out Mightyena, and we open with Shockwave, taking it down to right below half as it uses Sand Attack and it goes down next turn. Shiftery is next, and we do open with Return, truthfully not doing much as it double teams, and we swap to Shockwave. But then, it uses Swagger, raising our attack, but we don't suffer from the confusion. We do a bit more chip damage with Shockwave as it double teams, and we do miss, so it uses Torment, which will force us to swap between moves. Sydney heals, and it takes a while because we have to keep swapping back and forth between Shockwave and Return due to the Torment, but we do end up taking it down some turns later. After that, we swap to Return with the Cacturn, and a critical hit takes it out. Crawdon is next, and we swap back to Shockwave, and that knocks it out in one shot, and thankfully, Absol goes to yellow. It uses Swords Dance, and the berry heals up as we move over to Shockwave, taking it to red as Rock Slide does some decent damage, and even as Sydney heals up again, we can still take it out not too long after. So far, so good. Phoebe is next, and she opens with Dusclops. Now, Dusclops has pressure, but we do take it out, and then we take the Bayonet out. Unfortunately, because it has pressure, this took a lot of our PP by this time, and we just end up restarting because we have no way of fighting back, and if I remember right, we can't really struggle our way to victory with Ghost types in Gen 3. If I'm remembering how things were set up in Gen 1, struggle was considered typeless, so you could still hit Ghosts. In Gen 3, they changed it so struggle was a normal type, and as far as I know, that's just going to end the attempt. We do end up trying this battle quite a few times, and about 30 attempts in and a couple levels on top of that, we have this attempt. Dusclops is first, of course, and we swap between Return, Shockwave, and finally Psychic to make sure that we don't waste all of our PP. Then, the Bayonets both go down in one shot, and with the second Dusclops, we take it down after about 4 or 5 Psychics, and then with Sableye, we have to swap back to Shockwave because it's immune to Psychic types, and take it down after a few attacks to finally let us move on. After a heal up, we head to Glacia, and I don't feel too badly going into this particular battle. Glacia opens up with Celio that goes down to a Shockwave and a Return. Glalie goes to red, gets healed, and then goes down, and with the next Glalie, we take it down with a Return and Psychic. With Celio, we begin with Return and then Shockwave it. Walrein is tanky, and we do about half damage, and we actually have to end up resting to gain back the health that's just been getting chipped away at us before we focus on attacking and taking it down with a few Shockwaves. Not gonna lie, that took about 20 attempts, because it seems, I'm 90% sure, the Walrein and I were speed tied, because sometimes I was going first and sometimes it did, and as far as I know, neither of us had any kind of priority moves. Alright, on to Drake. Drake starts with Shelgon, and we return to predict the Protect that it's going to use, then knock it down with Psychic. With Flygon, we can take it to yellow, and Drake heals up, and we end up actually getting a high roll on the damage and taking it down next turn. With Salamence, it uses Crunch, that's doing pretty good damage, so we end up taking it down with a few Psychics. After that, Altaria is an easy 2-shot. With Kingdra, we immediately need to take a nap, so we rest, and basically spend the rest of the battle spamming Shockwave until we get whittled down to 42 HP, but we finally take it down, winning us, a 13th try victory. On to the final battle. Wallace sends out Wailord, and I use Shockwave, and I don't think I've ever seen and HP bar go down so slowly, but we take it to a little under half as it uses Double Edge for solid damage, then we take it out. Next up is Tentacool, and we swap the Psychic for the weakness and stab bonus, taking it to red as it uses Toxic. Wallace heals up, then we take it down. Unfortunately, though, the Ludicolo is able to stall us out, so we're not able to win this, so we actually go down not too long after. A couple of attempts in, the beginning of the battle opens the same, and this time the Tentacruel uses Hydro Pump rather than Toxic, so we can take it down. After that, we can actually just take down a majority of the team with Shockwaves until we get to Milotic. Once we're there, we basically have to start with these stall strats with Rest, Attack, take a few hits, Rest again, and rinse and repeat until the Milotic finally falls, because it also knows Recover. So at this point, it's just a battle of attrition, but thankfully we do win this battle. The Milotic falls, and that wins us both the battle and the run. Now normally, if you've seen this video, you know I like to go for the Secret Steven Stone fight. However, remember when I said my power went out? Yeah, this halfway through the end credits is actually where it ended up happening, so the problem aside from the whole video thing is that apparently this abrupt restart caused the, we'll say, totally legit Nintendo that I use for these runs to bug out a little bit. This, for whatever reason, started the entire game over, so I wasn't actually able to do the fight this time. But at the very least, I'm happy that we were able to at least finish the run. Next week, I'm probably going to go ahead hop back into Fire Red. I have a Corefish run that I'm going to be working on, and next week I am officially on vacation, so I'm going to try to actually get a couple videos done. But, as always, if you like the video, even if you didn't like the video, hit the like and subscribe button, because it really does help me out. And until next time, everybody, peace out.